Good afternoon, everyone out there on YouTube. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda B3K. In this video, we are swapping the steering column on my brother's F250 named Ty. The original column, though it does work for the steering part of it, all the accessory stuff, the ignition, is thrashed and trashed, and it made more sense just to swap the whole column. So that's what we're doing. Let's get to it. So here's our replacement column. It is from the junkyard. It came out of an F150, and we're hoping that this is going to work better than the one that exists right now. Particularly, it has an intact lock cylinder. Now, the actual lock cylinder itself is kind of thrashed, and it's still going to need to be replaced because I believe this is busted in a way that you can start the vehicle without a key, which kind of works out right now since we don't have a key. But that's what we got, nothing fancy. And we've got all the plasticky bits to make that look pretty, so not too concerned about that. Let me take you over to the existing column and show you how we're going to have to try to take this out. Alright guys, let me zoom this because we're kind of up close and personal. So what you're looking at is the underside of the steering column. And what we need to remove is actually, it's not a ton. So you have 4 primary bolts. There's one there, kind of on where my finger is. And then the other one's over here. And then my light's going to fall down. That's okay. There is... Okay, actually not okay. Need my light. Gas pedal betrayed me. Okay, let's do this. Okay, alright, so if I can see, there we go. Right there is going to be your third bolt. There's a second bracket up here. And right, swing this around, there we go, that's better. Right there, so you've got those 4 main bolts. There is also, and it's kind of hidden back here. Let's see if I can get it. There it is. So I can see it. It's visible on camera. That black cable head, I'll call it that goes across right there. On one end, it's a quick disconnect. On the other end, there's a slide out that we're not quite sure how to work on yet, but getting there. So that's got to come out. And then we've got some electrical that's going to have to be removed. This big bracket right there, big gray bracket with a hole in the middle, that has an 8mm bolt in it, and the bolt has to be removed, and then you can wiggle the connection out. And then a little further up the column where the multi-switch is, let me go bring that around. Hang on guys. Okay, top side again. So this is the electrical for the multi-switch, which is your blinker, headlights, things like that. This, you have to take the switch out in order to remove these connectors without damaging them, and that is done by these 2 Torx there, and then on the underside there. Now you notice the pretty plastic that goes here is gone. Gives us a little bit easier access. However, we do still have our underdash piece right here that needs to come out. So that's actually where we're going to start, and from what I can see, we've got a screw hole there, we've got a Phillips there, a Phillips here that need to come out, and then I'm thinking the rest of it's going to be plastic push pins that we can separate out with my push pin tool, cat claw. So let me get those out and then I'll bring you back. Alright, that came out of the way pretty easily, and it was what I thought. After those 2 screws came out, we had 3 push pins basically. If you pull them straight back, gently, they will pop out, and then we're in a position where we can go ahead and get started on removing the column. I'll start with this electrical up here first. I'll take the multi-switch out and work on that. So let me go get the Torx driver needed. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gotten the screws out, and then you just kind of wiggle, and as you can see, the multi-switch just kind of drops out of the way, and now you have access to the retaining clip. So this is going to be a small jeweler's flathead to pop this loose so you can get this big connector out, and you'll spin it around and work on the other one. So let me go get that tool. I'll be right back. I did not grab all my tools today, my apologies. Alright, so we've got this guy out, and now we can get access to this guy, and he has a pair of clips on the side, and I need both hands to get at those, but you're gonna take a flathead. See if I can spin this around. Okay, that'll work. There it goes. And you're gonna take the flathead, you're gonna get under like this, and you're gonna lift the tab out of the way. Not too far because you'll snap it, but just enough to get it around the black tang in the middle. And then you do the other side, and then you should be able to wiggle the connector out. Alright, if you were ever curious what your multi-switch looked like, there you go. And by the way, if you need to repair your multi-switch, this is the point where you could swap in a new one. But we're not stopping there. We have more to do. So now that we've got this done up here, we're going to move down to the brackets that I showed you below. And I believe those are 13 millimeters. So let me go get that, and we'll work on that. Okay, so these bolts are 13, or they're 1/2, because this truck is actually built in SAE, but I'm more thinking metric, and I have more tooling in metric. So I got those two off. These two need to come next, though probably before I do that, I need to deal with that linkage up in the back, because once I pull these two, this whole thing is going to be a flopping, and I don't want to be fighting with that with this in my lap. So what would be the passenger side of the linkage, if you're actually sitting and facing the steering wheel, that you can just pop right off like a cat's claw, which I've got one somewhere. There it is. Good thing I took the bench out. So you just get under it, smack your knuckles along the way, feel some pain. So that side's easy. The side that we're a little more worried about is, where's that stinker? Where did it run off to? There it is. Sorry, there's some custom wiring that was done that's kind of in the way. And over there, that fella right there. And what we'll try to do is just kind of, there's a hole in the top of the bracket, so it's intended to slide down, so I'm hoping I can just pop it out in the upward direction. So I'm going to give that a try, and then I'll bring you back with what I find. Alright, I went ahead and I think I need to get at that linkage from the top, so I removed, and that is the shifter linkage, by the way, that actually reaches back to the transmission. Went ahead and removed the other two 1/2 or 13s, so now the column wants to come down. Be careful, because if you are following my instructions, I was naughty and I did not remove all the electrical, so that needs to happen now. And oh, that little guy's got a, okay, yeah, that's got to come out too. There's a cable that reaches all the way around, and that's got to come loose, so that's a little tiny guy. I'll figure out what that is. But we're going to take care of that 8mm inside of this big connector right here and get that out of the way. Okay, so this turned out to be a 7mm, not an 8. Sorry about that. But you unscrew it, comes right out. There's this little dude right here. He is on the bracket. So you got two choices here. You can either disconnect it and hope your replacement has it, or you just pull this little Christmas tree like that. And then it still laughs at you because it actually is connected, and you do need to disconnect it. This steering column is kicking my butt, ladies and gentlemen. I make assumptions about it. It goes hee hee and laughs at me. Alright, I need both hands for this one because it's another double. And get this apart. Oh wait, I have assistance. And it's also the owner of the truck, so if he breaks it, I am a-okay.
That one's lifted, that one's lifted.
You raise me up.
Well, come on.
Well, that's why we have the flatheads.
Oh, come on. Pass me the flathead.
Double flathead. Anyway, I'll let him fight with that. I'll bring you back. Okay, next step is, you'll see my socket there. This module here is the indicator cable for up here, let you know what gear you're in. And what we're going to do is, this needs to come off right here. That will give us some slack because it's kind of buried and I'm not sure if I'll be able to capture it here. Oh, that was gooey and nasty. Right there. So let me get zoom, focus. There we go. So you see that string there that's looped around the arm in the back? That's the other end of that. And I want to make sure we have some slack, then we can just take it off its peg. And we got to preserve that because we don't have a second one of that. That would already been stripped off the column we pulled from the yard. So that is a 5.5 millimeter down there. We'll go ahead and get that removed, get this off the loop, and then we'll keep going. Okay, progress or updates. So there is a U-joint that connects the steering column to the actual steering shaft, and you need to take one of the bolts loose there. It's a it's a half inch or a 13 millimeter, and that'll let you, the column will come right off. So we did that, and right now what we're still arguing with is the shifter linkage. The other half, we can't figure out how to get it out, but what we need to do anyway is this bracket here needs to be swapped. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It's held in by these bronze colored bolts. They are Torx 30s. So there are 3 of them. And we're going to go ahead and get those out of the way so we can loose this bracket and see what that gains us. Okay guys, so what we decided to do is actually bypass that shift link cable entirely. So this is what we're going to do. There are 3 screws that hold the bracket on, and I can spin this around and show you.
That's actually the way it's mounted.
Alright, so there's 1, 2, and then there's the third one here. These are T30s. As you can see, you can't really get at them right now, but what you have to do is remove the spring. And my brother figured that out. Basically, the spring sits in a pair of notches on the central shaft, so you pop them out of the notches and then it comes right out. And I know the lighting here isn't the greatest, but I'll show you the notches once he has this out. And you are playing with the spring at this point, so, you know, eye protection, or know how to move your head quickly. So you take that plate off, and if we look really closely right there, that is one of the 2 notches that the spring was sitting in to hold tension. And then you slide this dude out. I want to hang on to that guy. And then you're going to crack these 3. They're T30s. You can crack them out by hand. I apologize for my camera. It does not do well with different height objects. Thank you, depth of field. Pop these 3. The bracket will then slide right off. And at that point, we're going to take the new column and we'll slide it into the existing bracket in the truck and start putting everything back together. And in this way, we do not have to worry about that stinky bracket, or shifter link, because we looked at it and we looked at it and we looked at it and we do not see how to remove it. And it's one of those parts that nobody sells. So that means if we screw it up, it's another trip back to the junkyard to hopefully find another one that we can somehow, some way get out. So to avoid all of that, we're doing this. It may seem kind of a long way to go do it, but I'd say it is a safe way to go do it. It's going to guarantee you success every time. All right, quick note, when you are putting the U-joint back on the steering shaft is going to have a lot of back and forth play. So it is keyed, so it's only going to go one way, but get that on. Be careful when you shove it on that you do have a grip on the shaft, because otherwise you could shove it all the way through the firewall and then you'll have to feed it back through. And take that 13mm 1/2, snug it up, and you're ready to go ahead and start putting the steering shaft back in. Okay guys, few updates. We've got the column more or less where it needs to be. We have it reconnected to the steering shaft that goes through the firewall. And we were preparing to go further and we realized that the original steering column has an overdrive button over yonder. And the replacement did not. So what we found out is under this really grody boot, there is a pin that holds this in. You can knock it out really easily with just a light hammer or just a punch and some strength. And so we were able to swap this out, and now we have the old shifter in with this electrical, which in turn is connected down here on the harness. So we're going to maintain that functionality and have our new column. So bear in mind that if you're swapping in a column that, in this case, this is an F250 to F250 swap, but I imagine an F150 column will also work. But bear in mind, when you're doing stuff like this, there may be feature differences between donor and recipient that you need to be aware of and be willing to swap for in order to make it all work in the end. Okay guys, I wanted to point out the loop for the shift indicator. I can get that to line up for you guys. There we are. Okay, get some light. So it's up there on a post, and my suggestion to you guys, I can get some light on it, is take a pick. There we go. Take a pick and guide the loop onto the post. Squish the loop down a little bit so it's more round. Get one side of it behind the bevel. There's a little groove behind the bevel. Get that in there, and then you can hook it on. It's a bit of a frustrating process, but if you're patient, you can do it. And also, the little plastic block that uses the 5.5mm bolt, don't tighten that down until you've already gotten this done. Alright guys, take a look. We have finished our swap. We wound up, in addition to having to swap the, I apologize for the low light, I'm running out of daylight, but in addition to having to swap the actual shifter arm, we swapped the steering wheel itself, and then there was some wiring through here that had to be swapped out. So we got all that done. The ignition cylinder is a little wonky, but we knew that. So like you can see. Oh, it cranked. Okay. But yeah, you see it'll crank without the key. That's fine because we don't have any keys for anything. But the point is, steering wheel is done and good. So that's gonna be that. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for this video on my brother's F250 named Ty, where we swapped out the entire steering column and all had some misadventures along the way. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you got something you want to say, leave a comment. I always enjoy reading them, and I do learn from them. So do those things for me. And remember, I make the mistakes, like I made plenty in this video, so that you don't have to. I'll see you guys next episode.